Hi there, hi everybody, this is Liz Davis. I am a nutritionist and I specialise in digestive health for busy women. So I help busy women fix their bloating, IBS, hormone problems, all those kind of associated issues that are closely related to gut health. And I do this with the latest state of the art gut testing and dietary and supplement upgrades to really get things ticking over nicely for you. So I've put some details under the video for how you can contact me for a chat about your gut health, and also a program to download, etc, etc. So there's some freebies there as well if you're interested in those. So I was going to talk today about Candida, because it is a often bandied around phrase. You know, I've got Candida, Candida's causing all my symptoms, it's Candida this, that and the other, and the Candida diet. I tend to find is actually a very overused phrase, because when we test quite often it turns out that Candida isn't causing the issues at all. It can be similar yeasts, it can be different kind of bacteria, viruses, or inflammation, etc., that can be behind the symptoms. So just double underlined really that it's always worth testing, test, don't guess, because then you know what you're dealing with, you can get in there and sort it really quickly. But just in case it is Candida, I will go over 9 common signs that you have Candida, and also a couple of signs you have Candida that are quite surprising. We don't often associate with Candida, but they're very common. So in that instance, it would be worth looking into whether or not you had Candida. So what happens then when you do actually have a Candida overgrowth, and it would be an overgrowth because Candida does live in our guts normally anyway. It's always there, but the problems can start when it's allowed to overgrow. It might grow into your gut lining and damage the gut lining, causing leaky gut, and then you can get associated problems with the leaky gut as well, such as allergies, autoimmune inflammation, other kind of inflammatory conditions as well. I've done lots of other videos on leaky gut, so do have a look at those if you're interested in that. So the symptoms you might have Candida overlap with a lot of symptoms that you may get from other things as well, which is why there's often this confusion. You may get exhaustion, sugar cravings, craving for yeasty foods, craving for things like bread or alcohol, that kind of thing, brain fog, recurrent UTIs, sinusitis, allergies, gas and bloating, low immunity, so if you're catching lots of colds and flus and stomach bugs all the time. And then of course vaginal thrush, oral thrush, athlete's foot itchy, rashes of no known cause, that kind of thing. Mainly just to look a bit more closely at whether or not you may have a Candida infection going on somewhere else. So what causes it then? So if you're suspecting you may have some of these signs, you could tie it back potentially to causes such as having a course of broad spectrum antibiotics, any kind of ongoing antibiotic treatment, being on the contraceptive pill for a long time, eating lots of sugar if you've been through prolonged stress, if you're on steroid medications, if you have diabetes, or you've got a history of drinking lots of alcohol, for example. All those kind of things can give rise to a Candida overgrowth. So remembering it should be there anyway. You've always got Candida to some degree, but it's just when it overgrows that, or it's allowed to overgrow, that the problems can start. So what are the signs then? First sign, feeling tired all the time. So if you're feeling tired a lot despite the fact that you're sleeping okay, then Candida may well be to blame. It's one of the big causes behind chronic fatigue. It's not the only cause, and it often goes hand in hand with other things as well. But it's quite often there lurking behind those kind of chronic fatigue kind of symptoms. The second one would be being in a bad mood. So if you have Candida, it can cause you to have anxiety, depression, just very niggly kind of moods all the time. It can worsen PMT, can cause PMT and cause bad menopause symptoms, perimenopause, stuff like that. So the surprising things I find is often recurring UTIs and recurring sinusitis. Big link there with Candida, huge link in fact. So if you've got anything like postnasal drip or congestion or hay fever or anything like that on an ongoing basis, then it's worth looking into whether or not you have a Candida overgrowth. Digestive symptoms, obviously, if you've got kind of chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, a mixture of constipation, diarrhea going on, bloating, cramps, that kind of thing, Candida could be to blame. Although, to be honest, often when we test, it's not Candida at all, it's something completely different. Sometimes it's Candida, but not always. If you're getting lots of brain fog, so brain fog is that feeling of having cotton wool between your ears, you can't concentrate, a bit foggy headed, poor memory, lack of focus, things like that. That is brain fog, and Candida can cause it. So can a lot of other things cause it. It's not always Candida, of course. But if you are getting that and you don't know why, it's worth looking into. If you've got poor blood sugar control, so if you're eating and then a couple of hours later your blood sugar's crashing, Candida can make that worse. Some people tend to be prone to that, but Candida can absolutely make it worse. If you get rid of Candida, you find that you get rid of a lot of these kinds of symptoms. If you find you're very intolerant to any kind of horrible smells, sort of toxic smells, fumes, or sometimes smells from cigarettes, that kind of thing, perfumes, sometimes people can't tolerate that at all because the liver is already overloaded from the toxins being released from the Candida. So you can't sort of readily tolerate any other kind of fumes or smells very easily either. That can be a big sign. As I say, yes, any kind of fungal infection you can't get on top of. You've got recurrent vaginal thrush or oral thrush, anything like that can be traced back to sometimes the gut microbiome it could be coming from as well. Although it can stem from the individual microbiomes too, so it's sometimes worth just treating the vaginal environment on its own as well. Okay, so if you've put two and two together, you're thinking you've got Candida, or you suspect it could be playing a part in your symptoms, then it's always worth testing. So the sorts of tests we would do is a gut test. Gut testing is always a good place to start with anything like that. Organic acids testing, which is a urine test, is always good for finding out if you've got more systemic Candida going on, because it can be anywhere in the body really, but it's typically coming from a microbiome somewhere, vaginal, gut, that kind of thing. So it's worth finding out where it is and if it can be giving rise to those symptoms that you're experiencing. So if you do discover you've got it, the normal course of action would be to modify the diet if it needs it. So taking out any kind of sugary, yeasty foods and replacing them with more wholesome foods, more nutritious foods. We would typically be using antifungals, not medications, but supplements, and these can be really quite strong. So although you can buy them in, without any kind of supervision or anything, I wouldn't recommend it because they can be extremely strong, and you certainly don't want to be using them on an ongoing basis. They can do sometimes more harm than good. So always work with a practitioner doing this. You'll get results so much faster, and you can be, you can rest assured that you're not going to be doing yourself any harm either. Okay, so that's about that. That's it about it really. So if you would like any help, if you are interested in testing or anything like that, then do get in touch with me and we can talk about that. And as I say, some other freebies in the links below the video as well. Okay, I shall see you next time. Bye.